What is the most crucial to you? Materialism or spirituality? The problem is that food is part of the material world, and without it, one's body dies. Jesus is saying without spirituality, one's soul dies. In this narrative, Jesus emphasizes spirituality. He adds the caveat that being concerned about spiritual food and growth is essential, and that this concern will lead to physical food. That's a difficult concept to accept in today's world. Can a person give up earning an income and just study the Bible? Well, the answer is actually yes, if someone else supports the person or the person is retired with a very nice pension. Another view would be that Jesus is saying that there's a balance between the spiritual and the material. Food is essential, but so is spiritualism. Let's talk about your personal budget. If you were to list your monthly expenses, what would be the first one? For many of us who have mortgages, that becomes number one on the list, because being homeless is not a good thing. If you continue to make the list, where does spirituality land? Or does it land on your list at all? I have known people who spend money on their spirituality with the crumbs of the money that might be left at the end of the month. In this case, the expenses of spirituality are not a budgeted item, but rather a leftover. You know, there's a midrash that fits the budgeting idea I just shared with you. I'm sure you remember the story of Cain and Abel. Abel went out into his flock. He selected the absolute flawless animal and sacrificed it to the Lord in thanksgiving. Cain, well, he had lunch. And when he was done, he collected the leftovers into a sack and brought it to the altar of the Lord. Cain offered his leftovers. Well, the Lord gladly accepted Abel's sacrifice. Cain's leftovers, not so, and they were not accepted by the Lord. When Cain realized that he should have offered his best, he became angry with Abel. Now, you know the rest of the story. In Abel's budget, the first line was for the Lord, while in Cain's budget, what was ever left over when he was done with it, that was for the Lord. You could say that Cain's sacrifice of leftovers was an afterthought. Cain might have thought, oh yeah, I should give something to the Lord in thanksgiving. What kind of gift to the Lord is it when you give him the leftovers? You know, giving to the Lord entitles many things. Materials, Bible studies, book reading, currency, they're just a few. You have to decide what you want to give for your spiritual development. Jesus said that it's essential to build up your spirituality. He called it treasures in heaven. A purpose of our existence is to learn all that we can about the Lord. Learning about the Lord is called spiritualism. There are numerous ways to learn about the Lord. If you're unsure what these methods are, simply ask the leader of your spiritual community. In Christian communities, this person is the pastor. Pastor will be able to supply you with many opportunities. Now, let's turn to the faith community for a moment, being the church. Church budgets are generally developed by taking the current budget, adding a percentage to each line item. The challenge for churches is to create a mission budget. Each item must show how it supports the mission of making disciples and educating them for Jesus Christ. The line items are then presented in order of importance. Once it is developed, it should be taken to the congregation for them to decide whether they will support the mission plan for the church. If they will not support it, then have a congregational conversation about what items should be reduced or eliminated from the mission budget plan. Perhaps they might add some additional items. Hey, anything's possible. Then the giving of money is for the mission of the church. There is a definitive need that people can relate to. This method should lead to less pain when the offering is collected each Sunday. The congregation could also be given regular reports on, of course, the church finances. Yes, there is a flaw if you haven't seen it. The drawback is that even a mission budget that leads to spiritual awakening and development has a materialistic component. Unfortunately, the world operates on money. It would be nice if that was not the case, but it is. Church, congregational leaders, and pastors have to struggle with this problem constantly. Let me give you a little secret. Well, okay, it's not really a secret. You have to work through the pain of materialism versus spirituality. Let spirituality win the day if you have to decide between the two. For pleasing the Lord is the key to spiritual happiness and eternal life. And if you're thinking, how do I satisfy the Lord? Well, here's the answer. Following the ways and actions of Jesus. His ways found in the Gospels are the best way to follow the Lord's word, which always is pleasing to God. So God bless you for listening to this message on spiritualism versus materialism. I hope it helps you out. And as always, shalom.